So, today we are going to be talking about a pivotal individual in my work as a musician, although this individual is not a musician. If you've seen my YouTube videos, you'll notice that most of them have a particular artist that provides the backdrop for the pieces. And this is the painter, the English painter, Joseph Mallard William Turner, J.M.W. Turner, who lived from 1775 to 1851. So his life spans quite a breadth of events in the world and a couple monarchs in England. So quite a diverse life he had just intrinsically of the time he lived in. But you're not here for a history lesson, are you? So be it. J.M.W. Turner was both lampooned and elevated in his lifetime for his use of bold, brilliant colors. His topics have a very unique perspective on light, which gives his topics very, very elevated sorts of feelings.
Elevated. What does that mean?
Elevated characteristics of, say, like ancient Greece or what have you. Whether you're talking about just your typical landscape or a maritime scene, it's undoubtable that the colors at hand are going to be one of the most convincing elements of the piece. And how do the colors affect my composition, you say? Well, when I think of my compositions, I most often think of them in terms of single, bold, brilliant colors, not necessarily plain reds or blues or greens, but greens, blues, reds, yellows, etc., that are extremely bold, extremely brilliant, and very pure in a sense. So some pieces that I listen to that are not mine, that kind of have this element that you can kind of draw some comparison to if you want. For example, Robert Schumann's symphonic etudes. When I hear those, I hear this green that is so vibrant, and it's not a light-hued green. In fact, it's a hue that's quite a few tones below your average run-of-the-mill green, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, there's just this vibrancy to it. Another piece that I get a similar sort of vibrancy from is Mendelssohn's Italian Symphony, for example. That's very brilliantly yellow in my mind. It's just like a bright summer's day out, if you will. So this might be why in my own composition I often go towards forms and structures that don't meander so far in key structures or really bedazzling harmonic effects. I most often rely upon conventional, classical, and Baroque sorts of idioms because I find even though there is modulation consistently occurring in these pieces, I guess you could argue that the unified tonal elements of these help to create a sort of brilliancy and vibrancy to the unified singular idea of the piece, whether it's your symphony in G or your string quartet in E flat, you know, this sort of thing. But I wanted to demonstrate a couple times throughout my life where I came across J.M.W. Turner's works not even knowing the name at the time, and how brilliant it struck me. I think most of you, whether you recognize it or not, are familiar with some elements of his work already. The most famous in my mind is likely the burning of the House of Commons and Lords, which has this huge firescape that just really dazzles the imagination. Mine as well. And I first saw this, or similar types of paintings by his, at the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C., all the way back in, let's see what this pamphlet that I saved from it says, 2007 to 2008. I went there during Christmas time, I assume, and just really taken aback by all of these Turner paintings and how vivid they were all around. I guess so much so that I decided to keep the pamphlet. A few years later, I decided to read a Turner biography, and that was extremely insightful just to get a lay of the land of what kind of a world he lived in, and just to get in his mind a bit more. I don't think I'm unique when I say that artists learn a good bit by just investigating other art forms. It's not as though you need to have an aim of trying to learn anything specific, really, from the artist that you're trying to investigate, but something holistic, if you will. Kind of like a liberal arts education, a holistic benefit that you get out of it. And then just recently, in fact, I visited, what's it called? Newfields, which is a museum in Indianapolis, Indiana. And at Newfields, they have a few watercolors by Turner's and some prints. And compared to his oil paintings, a lot of people might say, not as impressive. But that was what I was anticipating before going to Newfields. And when I think of watercolors, I think of, daubs of paint by an elementary school student on some piece of, construction paper, what have you. Surprisingly enough, that was not the circumstance that I came across. In fact, I was really stunned at the same level of vibrancy in these watercolors that I had seen in the oil paintings years and years before. And even the prints that I had seen, I expected these to be kind of just run-of-the-mill sorts of prints, but really, the colors that Turner used in some of these were so peculiar in their choice that you couldn't help but look at them with a sense of sort of wonderment. And I think it's something that you have to see to believe. So I would encourage you, if you're watching this video, to go online and when you search for Turner, don't just look at his oil paintings, but look at his watercolors and his prints that he made, because again, these were very startling in their vibrancy, and I wish I had known them earlier. So what's the purpose of this video? Is it to exclusively talk about Turner? More or less, but I think some takeaways that you might glean from this are to check out some Turner. Maybe that'll lead the way into some other of his contemporaries or some of his inspirations, whether it's Thomas Curtin or Claude Lorraine, what have you. And that'll maybe, upstart you to your own artistic endeavors, or just uplift your day in the moment therein. So, yeah, have at it. Have some art, have some Turner. Enjoy yourself, take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.